Welcome to lesson number 3 on child training, and this one talks about the middle years, not the little years. And whereas in the little years you were focused on really your child submitting to your will, in this season of life you have a lot less control. What do I mean by a lot less control? I mean that your goal really at this point should be their heart, and not their heart of obeying you particularly, just the sincerity of not being so selfish. This isn't so much about the fear of the Lord and the fear of consequences. That hopefully was established in their earlier years, and at this point hopefully they are already pretty obedient and pretty routine in what they do. And during these middle years, I say middle years, I'm thinking 7 or 8 to about 12, 13, maybe 11 or 12. And what they deal with at this point more than anything else is just selfishness and esteeming others better than themselves. And I'm going to give you 6 different areas where you can work on your child's heart in regards to esteeming others better than themselves. The first is respect for other people's property. Sibling rivalry. If you have more than one child, this season of life is just full of sibling rivalry, because selfishness and foolishness just abounds in the heart of a child. And in our house we have some rules that we repeat over and over in this season, and it's like this: don't touch people, don't touch their stuff, don't touch people with stuff, don't touch people's stuff with stuff, and don't touch people's bubble with stuff, including your breath. Because kids are ridiculous. Oh, so ridiculous. It used to just be don't touch people, don't touch their stuff. But they're so evil. Kids are so evil. You know, you're sitting in a car with them and you feel like there's a respectable amount of space. Like these seats in your car, they have a defined portion. You know, there's a seat belt that kind of ends that, right? But no, you'll always have the kid who's like, why? And there have to be consequences. And if you haven't already watched the second video in this series on follow through and consequences, this would be an excellent opportunity, because there has to be consequences. There have to be consequences. There have to be consequences. It's very important to teach them safety. That should probably start even younger, but it's good to remind them of what is safe and what is not safe, and what is a private area of your life and what is their own personal space, and to teach them what safe people do and what safe people wouldn't do, and that just because somebody's an authority doesn't mean that they're safe or that they're good. But if I always tell my children, you know somebody is good by what they do, not by who they are. And you have every right to tell an adult no if they're asking you to sin, or if they're asking you to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable or invades what we have taught you as private. And you know, you just, there's some books called Yell and Tell, really good books that are discreet in how to teach them what are good boundaries. And I would really encourage that. You know, teach them that safe adults are always aware that the parent is the protector. And so if you are out somewhere and you happen to be alone for the moment and somebody says, come here, I'll take you to your parent, no. A safe person would say, stay right there, and we will, you know, I'll stand back here while we wait for your parent to come. Never go somewhere with an adult. Never be alone with an adult. You just don't know. I know that's harder with babysitters, but you have to give your kids boundaries and understanding that self-respect and that esteeming others better than yourself has nothing to do with those issues. You as a child have rights. So be sure that's the second principle, is safety. Teach them those issues of safety and that authority is not all-encompassing. The third thing, be a blessing, not a burden. And this is to teach them to carry their own weight around the house. Not only is it proven that children who do chores as a young person, they are far more responsible and less entitled as an adult, but it helps. It's like strength training. You don't just stick somebody with 100 pounds and think that they're going to do a good job. You start little and you build your strength. And that's what chores are in life. They teach you that work is absolutely necessary because you carry your own weight. Keep it works not, eats not. You be a blessing to others, not a burden. You know, just those are important character traits. But it teaches them time management, and it teaches them that if you do this chore, you know, when they're little, they start out with, my son, they start out with sorting laundry, and then it's taking out the little trash cans from around the house, and you just kind of build up. And as they develop strength and diligence and responsibility, and you know that they're going to follow through, you've already trained them, you know, how to do each of these things. They also understand the sense of accomplishment of, I did a job really well, and look how good everything is, and look how beautiful the kitchen is because you did a really good job. And you need to teach them that the world doesn't revolve around them. Esteeming others better than yourself. Are you disgusting and a pig in your bedroom? Do you share a bedroom with somebody else? Do you share a home with somebody else? It is absolutely disrespectful to assume that your comfort or your laziness is more important than the people around you. But the goal of this is independence. They've learned life skills starting from a very young age, and they've learned to be circumspect of how does my behavior impact those around me. Which brings me to manners. So I'm just going to tell you, I don't think I understood the difference between etiquette, you know, cultural etiquette, and manners until maybe this year. Isn't that awful? And I am just the type of person to where if it's not in the Bible and you can't tell me a good moral reason why I should do something, then I'm not going to just abide by your made-up rules. I'm just not. I'm not very traditional. I'm very biblical. And so when I was a younger adult, I was playing the piano for some type of activity, and this kid in the class like ripped one. So loud, so gross. And everybody was kind of uncomfortable, but you know, the Bible doesn't say thou shalt not rip one in public, you know? And the teacher was all like, hey, you know what, buddy? That's really disrespectful to the people who are around you. If you need to do that again, you can just excuse yourself. And I was like, oh, that's true. It was disrespectful to the people around him because we all were socially uncomfortable and physically uncomfortable because of his lack of manners. And usually, manners, you can be proactive in teaching them. For me, I have always been highly aware of where I have lacked teaching my children manners because of an embarrassing moment. I think, you know, because you don't always recognize how ready your children are to do something, you know, whether it's passing food around the table. Well, it takes a long time for them to be strong enough to pass things around the table. But my son, he was maybe 6 or 7, and we were at church, and he took great pains to open up this door so he could be the first one in there. Oh, he got the door open. I was thinking in my heart, oh, that's so sweet. He's opening the door for everybody. No. wanted to be first. And so he opened the door and then just booked it. The door slammed on everybody behind him. I was just like, mental note. Teach your son how to be a gentleman. And then just recently, so we have 5 kids, and usually when we have social activities, it's done in a buffet style. And so everybody, we put the food on the counter and then we pray. And then the parents usually, help the kids get their food and settle them down, so then the parents can relax and the parents go first and the parents go second. So that's the training that we have gone through. But we were sitting down at dinner, and I had made something that the kids didn't normally eat, and there were some guests with us, and we prayed, and the moment we were done praying, all of the kids, all 5 of them, were like, oh! And like the blood drained from my husband and my face, like, oh, of course it's going to happen in front of people, because that is when the lesson is the strongest in your heart, which is why you must be humble as a parent. You must be. And so then after that dinner, we explained to kids, all right, and so here's the thing, it's respect. It's respect of the other people around you and selflessness, and that is what this season of life is teaching people. And you have to say, you know what? These are our guests, and they have every right to the very, very best of what we have. And if that means you get less, then what an honor and a pleasure that you were able to be hospitable to them. And then, and then we took our fair share of mocking them, and and you just gotta laugh at yourself because you do stupid things. And hey, it wasn't really your fault. It was our fault because we never trained you in this situation. And that's just how life is. But if you can take the time to, in their heart, work on, you treat guests with the utmost of respect and always looking for their needs first, then hopefully as they get older, if they're in a new situation, that principle will put themselves there so that the actual instance doesn't matter, because they'll understand, I am being hospitable to them and putting their needs first, esteeming others better than yourselves. And so etiquette, that's cultural, but the heart, focus on the heart and how that impacts people in your home. In regards to your heart, be ye kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, hath forgiven you. You should never let your child say hateful things. Each child will probably say something hateful, but it should never be acceptable. Oh, well, they're just mad. No. If your child says to somebody, I hate you, there should be immediate and severe consequences. You do not have the right to be cruel. Period. If you have a problem with somebody, you can say, I really hate it when you do this because such and such happens. And you have to teach them those conflict resolution skills. But to be unkind is a sin. Be ye kind one to another. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness, meekness, temperance, faith. Those all have to do with your mouth and your heart, and the bitterness and that root of bitterness that causes to think that brothers and sisters don't have issues with each other is naive, because you have all of these personalities, and some are more abrasive and some are more passive, and some get their feelings hurt because they're people pleasers. Some get their feelings hurt because they're arrogant, and how dare somebody say that they did something that wasn't practically perfect in every way. You have to teach them to communicate, and sometimes that requires them to walk away until they cool down. And I don't mean walk away and slam a door. I'm saying, I need to take a break and we'll talk about this later. You have to teach them self-control, because there's so much damage that can come from just, the cutting tongue, biting and devouring one another. It ought not be. The Christian has no place doing that. The Bible says that we ought to, the wisdom that is from above is first gentle and peaceable and easily entreated. You can be right without being a jerk. And in regards to that, losing your temper is always wrong. There should always be consequences for losing your temper. Because the Bible says that if you are, I don't know the exact words, but if you keep bailing out an angry person, they're never going to learn their consequences. And you're just continually going to have to bail them out. And so the angry man, first of all, don't become friends with an angry man lest thou learn his ways and be like unto him. But second of all, teach your child that it's never okay to lose your temper. That goes back to conflict management. And boy, siblings help you have many opportunities to teach conflict management and forgiveness. But it also helps you to teach them, first of all, not to be a liar. So many moments, so many opportunities to lie when you're a child, because you are afraid that you're going to get in trouble, or maybe you really want to get the other person in trouble. But also the difference between being a gossip and a talebearer and just being negative in general, those are all encompassed in be kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, long-suffering, forbearing, being careful of the root of bitterness between maybe a sibling that you continually struggle with their personality. Again, this season of life is about esteeming others better than yourself, but that doesn't mean that you silently have to take all of the hurt. You have to learn how to be brave enough to approach an issue with self-control. It's not fight or flight. It's not slamming the doors or just railing at somebody. Neither of those are okay. The sixth thing in regards to others is teaching how important family is. It's easy to get busy. It's easy to want to read a book in silence. It's easy to want to drop a kid off at an activity and not deal with them. It's easier to want to stick a kid in front of a screen so that they're quiet. It's easy to just want to everybody go their own way so that there's not as much interaction. And since there's not as much interaction, there won't be so many fights and arguments and touching and blowing on people. It's so much easier to do that in the now, in the here and now. But it doesn't help them in life in the long run, because they need to know, first of all, they need those opportunities to learn manners around the dinner table. They need the opportunities to learn how to deal with their own feelings with sibling rivalry. They need to have fun and understand that there is so much fun in recreation, and they can do it with their family, somebody who loves them and isn't going to laugh at them because they're not perfect in how they do things. They need to understand how to draw lines with their media and entertainment, and who better to do that with than to watch things with you and to be with you. They need the wisdom that comes from the Bible and family devotions and those times of reading the Proverbs and the Psalms and the stories and being able to talk about the principles and the history and the lessons that you learn in there. Those all come from family, praying together, praying for them. Family is important. I always tell them there's no Lego creation that's more important than your sister. If they broke it, whether they meant to or whether they didn't mean to, that Lego creation you're not going to remember when you're 20. But you're going to want your sister to be your bridesmaid. Family is important, and there might be time where there are differences that you absolutely cannot resolve. But try your very, very best to love them. Try your very best to not be bitter, to always have their back in a time of need and not be, well, I told you so. Only you would listen to me. God gave you that family. Cherish them. So that's it for the middle years, esteeming others better than yourself. Have a great day.